You're listening to the Bombad Generals.
General? Oh.
Hello, welcome to the Bombad Generals. Man, we hope you guys are having a great day. It's Seth. We're here with a new host, a Norwegian, came all the way from Norway, Matt Bronson, also known as Zeus Juice. Matt, how are you?
Hi, as they say in Norway, yes. I was all messed up, and this is actually our second attempt at doing the recording, so apologies if this is coming out a little later than we expected, even with the 2-week delay, because, time zones and not looking at my phone because I'm unemployed and was just, really concentrated.
Playing Baldur's Gate.
No, not at this point. Just painting Star Wars miniatures. So
Well, there you go. Yeah.
I'm actually, while we talk, I will take a look. I want to see if we've had any downloads from Norway in the history of this podcast. But that's beside the point. Today, what we were going to get into was actually kind of a throwback in the sense of bringing back an old segment, What Have You Been Running? Which we started with, and it's just kind of a good lead-in, talking about some lists we've been running and using that as a jumping-off point. And I think it's especially good this time because you were at a really big store champ, a 32-person, so...
32 capped. It didn't reach that much, but yeah.
Oh, okay. But it was close though, right? It was almost 32. I think
it was like 26 or something like that.
Yeah, so. Pretty good. A big event.
Yeah. 23.
5 rounds.
I'm sorry, 27.
There you go. And you were running Yoda and a Bark list. And then I was at a store champ a few weeks back before the move. I was only able to be there for one day. But this was when I was thinking I might go to GSG. I was doing a practice run of that list, which was also a Yoda list, but a very different Yoda list with a Yoda gun line. So we can kind of talk about our different experiences, and it'll be a really good investigation because Yoda's pretty hot right now. He's having a lot of really good tournament results. I think he just won, what's it called? Crucible. Mike Dash's Barry won that this weekend with a Yoda gun line, similar to
Way to go, Mike. I'm glad we can convince him. I'm glad we can convince him.
Bombad Corporal, we dubbed him.
Yeah, we did, yes.
Yeah, I don't know if we convinced him because he didn't take any of my advice on what I like to do with
That's
the list.
okay. I just remember talking a lot about Yoda with him at Worlds this past year. So yeah,
he was a big Anakin guy. So I'd like to think that we kind of got him onto the Yoda train. But yeah, Yoda's hot right now, and this is a good opportunity to look at kind of, I'd say, the more traditional Yoda list, which is what you've been running, the Yoda Chewie Barks, and also maybe the new wave. The Yoda list that's now in fashion with the Yoda gun line.
The Yoda, yeah,
making some waves.
Yes, two very different play styles, and I think both are like, which one? Like, I think Yoda has his strengths and weaknesses in both, but I think it's a lot different to learn. If you're playing Anakin, it's a lot easier playing Yoda in the gunline version than it is playing like the objective skew version.
For sure.
In my opinion.
And I did look it up. We have had Norway is our 7th most downloaded country. Amazing. So one of these is not too far away. So perhaps
you should just go.
Perhaps I'll meet that person. Yeah.
Go stop by. Just drop in. Hey, how you doing? It's Bombad Generals here.
It's me. Yeah. But anyways. Seth, how did things go with Yoda Chewie at whatever your store champ was called?
For sure. So the store champ I went to was called Dust Bowl Bounty Hunters, which is a lot of the tournaments they have here in Oklahoma. And of course, my list, the title of it was Old Faithful, because it's pretty much what I brought to Worlds. Because I haven't got a ton of time to like experiment with different lists, a ton of time to like the gunline arc list that we've talked about. Haven't had a ton of time So I went in and was like, I think I need to win a store championship because I don't think my store championship previously was valid anymore. So I went in and was like, I just need to crush. And that I did. So spoiler, I did get a store champion, a world's invite. So I was very thankful for that. Also, the guys there are awesome. So back to the list. I played a Yoda Chewie list with 3 phase 1s. 2 of them with Z6s with the medics, and then 1 with the rocket. Unlike every other clone player, I did not bring Boyle. And then I brought Echo with strike team, and then 3 naked barks right there for objectives. Yoda, I normally bring, so I brought Force Push, of course, and the Burst of Speed. I normally bring Saber Throw, but I took out Saber Throw, which I actually regret because I wanted more of a bid because of Tempest Force.
So did you run a naked Force slot?
I did. I only ran 2. Yeah. I only ran 2 Force slots on Yoda.
You're crazy.
I know, I am crazy. But hey, it worked out for me. And then Chewie, I just have recon intel on him. And that's what I was running. So I think it was like 794 is what I was running.
Yeah, because you were 799, I feel like, before.
Yes.
And then dropped the 5 points. So what was the thinking with no Boyle? Basically, I'm guessing can't find the points for it. And like your list isn't really that clone centric. Yeah. Yoda, Chewie are doing their thing, and then it's the barks. And if you get a couple extra wounds on the clones, then whatever.
Yeah, I didn't want to give up the rocket because I could either replace a rocket for Boyle, but there's a lot of armor right now, so I kept the rocket, which I'm very thankful I kept the rocket. And then I could have also traded out a medic for Boyle, and I decided against that. Just because the extra heals, because of flexibility of either having the attrition battle and keeping a clone alive or keeping Yoda alive, which then again, I did not regret again. So a lot of my games were bloodbaths. I believe all but 1 came down to kill points, which is very rare for objective skew Yoda. But thankfully, I did take it out all on kill points, and that's where I was very thankful for have the Z6s with the medics because of the attrition battle there. I won a lot of that attrition battle. Spoiler alert, if you're rolling 10 dice, 12, 11 dice, you're gonna roll good. Half the time, at least. I think you generally rolling a lot of dice. So but let me recap some games. So the first game I played, it was I'm not going to go into detail about this game, but it was I played a double bus triple swoop list, and I was like, oh shoot, I didn't bring Saber Throw. That's exactly what I thought. But
with Black Suns in the buses jumping out of them?
No Black Suns. It was 11 acts. 11 or 12. So I was running 9 acts going up against an 11 act, and I think there was there's some naked pikes in there. There wasn't a big, the beefiest stuff was the buses. They brought the critical 1 gun. I'm sorry, not the critical 1, the one with the 6 black dice, and then also the double tap astromech
double
droid.
Tap droid frenzied gunner for the extra die as well.
Yes. Oh, not the frenzy gunner. I don't think so. Wait, maybe. Yes, they did. It was the frenzy gunner. Correct. So the buses did hit hard, but it was only 2 activations, and a lot of the time, again, spoiler alert, I was in heavy color, so it was 3-4 hits max going through, if that. So that was a fun game. I think the mistake he made, he was a great player. He said, I think he and I were both a little rusty just in the tournament scene, so we were kind of fumbling around and actually kind of came to time. But he just ran his swoops in pretty fast, and I dealt with his swoops before the rest of the army came in. So, but lost it. That was helpful for me because I can then even out the activations and then continue on going in. And then he left also a naked pike out for the barks to just come in, be able to touch the get him in no cover pretty much, and then the barks all 3 just took out a whole unit. So that was that put me up on a uphill. That put him up on an uphill climb to win the game. And that was KP, which I was a little worried with double buses, but it worked out. The next game I played, this is where it got really interesting. I was clenching my butt cheeks at the end of the game because I played a Blizzard Force, a double ATST Blizzard Force. And again, this is where I regret not bringing Saber Throw on Yoda. And as the game progressed, I flew a ton of dice into one of the ATSTs and it just would not die. Actually saved really good. It was saving really good. But that game we were playing Bombing Run. And I think he had 2 ATSTs and 2 bikes. So I don't think, and then I had, of course, my bark. So there was no problem of either of us scoring. But so Yoda scored. I mean, not Yoda himself did not score, but all the barks scored, and then one of the ATST scored, and then his 2 bikes scored. So it was tied on victory points, and then it came down to, and it was hemmed in. So
Oh yeah,
it's really
be easy to score there for sure.
Easy, very easy to score. But I think I made a mistake. So Yoda with the objective skew is normally you want Yoda to kind of back up the barks just in case a bark dies. And so when that happened is I played a little bit, I'd like jumped Yoda in a little bit too early. And I got him into a spot where like a whole activation, like I had to get a melee and take a standby so that his ATST is going to shoot me. Cause I think Yoda had like 2 wounds left on him. So there was a whole turn where like Yoda did nothing, which was very, very unfortunate, but like, and then the next turn I moved Yoda in, and then I played the Chewie 2 pip. So I teleported Yoda to Chewie, and unfortunately he got first, he got priority that turn, and then had his ATST just blow up my Yoda because I had to put Yoda kind of in line of sight in order to get Yoda to take out the ATST, because I had to win by kill points at that point, and I had to take out the ATST, and Yoda whiffed the roll and just got enough wounds through. And Yoda then died, and I was like, well, shoot, I have Chewbacca and a Z6 squad, and I think a few barks left. And I was like, I don't know. And then he has like this huge ATST, so I think I set it up to where I could fire support. I could fire support a Chewbacca's shot with the Z6 squad, and thankfully I did that, and I got 3 crits through, which is what I needed. I just needed 3 wounds, and he rolled 3 blanks, and I was like, I won the game right there. So came down to kill points. There was a comment. There was one guy that I heard. He was also running a very similar list to what I was, and he was like, we were looking at the game up lake, and I, being at the top of the because your first thing is strength of schedule, but then it goes to kill points after that. I had, out of everyone in the whole tournament, I had the most kill points killed, like through everything. So I think I had 1,674 kill points that I killed, which is 3 rounds. That's a lot. That's a lot. So that was super. What do you think was
different for you? Because before you haven't killed this much, right? Like, do you think there was anything that you were actively trying to do differently? Anything about the circumstances that was forcing this?
I think so. The first 2 games with armor, like I knew I had to take out the armor because they were just like, those were the big centerpieces. Like for KP, with the buses, I was like, I have to take out these buses, because if I don't, then like they could maneuver the buses to like block the middle KP. But so I know I had to do that, but there was just opportunities where like I was like, oh, I could get an out of cover shot here with like a full boat. And it just worked out for me to where I then took out a unit. And then the other like the Blizzard Force one, I I don't know like what was different. I think normally how I play is I play like they come to me and then like I then have to like I then score everything. But how like turn 0 set up is that like we tied on scores. So I was like, I have to kill stuff. And I think going in like hemmed in bombing run, I was like, I know I have to kill stuff because this is a very high possibility it's going to come to KP. So I focused a lot on like from Yoda and Chewie and the Z6s to then killing stuff. And not just like playing defensively and just going for the objective. And so I think that's where like it like changed kind of how I was thinking is just because of the some of the playing. Like the third game I played, I didn't kill as much stuff, but we played bombing run with advanced positions. So I was like, and I killed the bike like turn 2 before it even like got in. So
that's good.
No, I'm sorry. It was breakthrough. Advanced positions. So I killed the bike turn 2, and then I had Echo blocking because it was another Blizzard Force like Vader triple bikes, and I had Echo blocking because Echo can take down a bike pretty easily. So I had Echo holding back the line. If like the bike's moving up, my Echo can take it out. So I don't think my opponent scored at all, and I was scoring 3 points right there. So like, but I didn't really focus on killing things. I was like, okay, focus on the objective. And that's just how turn 0 lined up, which like how, when I'm playing the objective skew is that's how I want it to go, is I want it to be like only coming down to victory points and not kill points. Because I think majority of the time, if it comes down to kill points, I'm going to lose. Just because like, I sacrifice my barks to die. I sacrifice like a phase 1 to die. That's normally just how things go. And sometimes you have to put Yoda in like a difficult position to maybe, if you're not super smart. I know there's some scenarios where I feel like I have put Yoda in a difficult position to where like I needed to score, but like, hey, he could die, but it was for the sole purpose of scoring the victory points. So it always came down to that. And just how turn 0 lined up was not the case. Like I think the 2 Blizzard Forces, like even with the 5 extra points of my bid, so I had a 6-point bid. Like I still ended up being red player. I was like,
yes. Do you regret dropping the saber throw?
I do.
For the bid, like the bid doesn't sound like it helped you all that.
Yeah, much. It didn't. Like, I think none of my games did help, and I don't think. So that was because like even I was red player 3 out of the 4 games I played, and I was like, well, I should have kept saber throw it. So now I know that, I was so worried about Tempest Force because normally they can rock like around a 4-point bid or something. And I just didn't play Tempest Force.
If you were playing against me, you would have gotten the bid and it might have been impactful. So you never know with these things. It's hard to tell.
It is.
Yeah, there's a lot of armor in the meta, and I think you're a bit of a hipster with that saber throw on Yoda, but it does make a big difference.
I thought I was, and then 2 of the other guys playing Yoda came and brought saber throw on their Yoda. I was like, "Where'd you guys? What?" Trendsetter. I was like, what?
I want to circle back on something. I think you're making a good point as far as recognizing in turn 0 about that it's going to be a bloodbath and game that comes down to kill points.
Yeah.
Because yes, ideally you don't want it to come down to kill points, and you want to be winning in objectives with that sort of list. But the sooner you can recognize and pivot to, okay, this is going to be a game where I have to win on kill points, the better you're going to do. It's, it kind of sounds obvious, but it's all too easy to get to turn 3, 4 and be like, oh shoot, or even turn 2 sometimes is too late, and you realize, oh no, this is going to be a kill points game, and you might just be a little bit behind on positioning or on attrition, and it can be tough to claw back from that. Versus if you understand, it all comes back to turn 0. If you understand the game state, and you make that commitment early, it's going to set you up better, even if it's not usually what you would do. Because you're planning for it from the outset, you're going to have a better time.
Yeah, totally agree. And that's where like it like set me up to where I can position or take risks of like, this unit may lose some dudes, but I could wipe or lose a lot over there. That's where like the point trade-off comes into play a lot, is like, I'm going to sacrifice my barks right here, but they're only 55 points. I can sacrifice them to take out an HRU or something, where that's like 74.
Used to be 74. Isn't it?
Used to be
it's
that.
like 84 now.
It's something else. Yeah.
Something. It's more than 55.
Plays
That's the
Blizzard?
important part.
That's what I was surprised. I was surprised to see as much Blizzard as I did.
It's still good. It's still been performing well.
It is. I just know Tempest Force. There was a triple ATST list that I was like, oh, I don't want to play this at all. Like, thankfully, I didn't get to. So that was round 1 and 2, and then round 3, I said a little bit earlier, breakthrough. I played Vader. I set him up to a position to where like he needed to sacrifice Vader in order for me to stop scoring, and that just worked out in my favor. So I took that 3-0. Always good. And then the last one is where it got really interesting, because I played, so we're both undefeated, and this was the shadow round after the actual tournament. And my opponent was playing a Anakin Padme list gunline with pikes. So Annie Padme, Capo, that whole shebang. And we got, I believe it was hemmed in and hostage exchange. And I was blue player. So
that's good.
It was either, I think it was either recover. He had the choice of going recover or hostage exchange. So he went hostage exchange because recover with hemmed in on my part is like really good.
Yoda, Chewie, you're there turn 1 easy.
Yeah, easily. Yeah. I'm not just there. I'm playing the 2-pip. I'm in and out. Yeah, I'm like it's already in my deployment zone pretty much. So that was set up to hostage, which I'm like, okay, Yoda on hostage. I'm feeling pretty good. It set up to where, of course, turn 2, he plays Padme's 2-pip and gets the other thing. But what I was recognizing and seeing is that was like, I'm blue player. I need to win by either kill points or stop him from scoring. Like, that's just how it is. So I recognized that he was taking this unit back, and like he, doing what the clone ball does. It was a whole like wall fortress of clones and pikes. I was like, with my forces, I cannot like penetrate this. Like, there is no way I'm going to be able to do this like effectively. So I need to stop him from scoring. So I did. I probably debated about it for 2 minutes before I actually did it. But I dove Yoda right in. While he had still Anakin left to activate to force push. Oh boy indeed. So I dove Yoda in and I stopped him from scoring, like stopped the hostage from getting in, like diving in or moving in.
Just with force pushes, just force pushing it back the opposite direction.
Force pushed it back the opposite way, and then like got into melee. So like it would either they'd force Yoda out, or like withdraw, so you can only do one speed move. But got it to where I think so. What I did the trick where, like, because of course you're playing hostage exchange. Remember, you cannot force push the hostage into you because they cannot engage in melee, but like they cannot start the engagement. So I made the force push because I had to get some line of sight blocker into and like cohered some guys around, and then like moved into those guys, so they had to teleport the hostage even more back. Just because of snapping rules and everything. So I did that, and of course, he brings Anakin up, double moves, and force pushes Anakin. And then Anakin is now, Yoda's now in the open, and his whole army can shoot. And I was like, shoot.
But if he's not scoring?
It's not scoring, so...
Then it doesn't matter.
I can't remember if it was at the start of that turn, I'm sorry, the end of that turn, or the start of the next turn, Yoda dies. So I'm going into turn 3, Yoda's dead. And I have... Chewbacca's still in melee with whatchamacallit, the hostage. And so my whole thing is like, Yoda's dead. I just need to stop my opponent from moving their hostage in to the deployment zone.
Yeah.
That's all I need to do. So I pivot my whole army, and my whole army's going after that. So if they're moving, there was like a firing lane in between like his whole army was and where the hostage was. So if someone would come in there, like I would light him up. Like, no, you cannot get to your hostage. So that was a super interesting game because Yoda's dead, and I was like, I don't think I'm gonna win this. Like he still has Anakin, Padme, everything. Things line up, the stars align. And I get Padme dead. I get Anakin dead. All that's left for him is one phase 1 and and his pikes. Like I think the Capo's dead too. I can't remember. But at the end of the game, I'm like, I lost this game. Like it came down to kill points because eventually he did like the last turn. He got the hostage in, and I think I beat him by like 80 kill points.
Right, because you basically had to feed so much to try to.
Yes, like I lost all my barks. I think I had all my clones left. That's all I had left was just my clones. But the 2 Z6s, the rocket, because the rocket was my hostage, and then Echo, and that was my army. Like Chewie was dead, Yoda was dead, and it ended up like clones are still expensive. So thank God they're expensive because it then won me the game. So I was like, that was probably the most like I probably sweat the most on that like hostage exchange game, which was very different than any of the hostage games I have played because I felt like I was on the back foot. And I think the big lesson I took away from that I hope anyone else takes away is that like turn 3 you may like be like my biggest piece or my biggest 2 pieces are dead. Like there's no way I'm coming back, but like I did, you know?
Right. And
so like there is a way to win and come back from that.
I don't like telling people this, but definitely don't concede too early. I don't like telling people that because I like it when people give me easy concessions when they can still win. But
right,
it's funny. All the way, we started the podcast almost a year ago at this point, and it's hard to talk about. But I like talking about win conditions and seeing win conditions because it's super important to Legion. Yep. It's just very on an audio podcast and. It's very situational, so it's hard to talk about. But in this instance, that's what we're seeing, right? The heuristics, the shortcuts we have. It's like, okay, whatever I do, I need to make sure that Yoda stays alive. But in this situation, you need to see the win condition and say, hey, if I actually want to win, I have to do this, which means maybe almost certainly Yoda's getting sacrificed. Yeah, and. It's counterintuitive, but that's what it takes to win. And I've seen it the other way too, where people have said, if I can, shoot their Yoda, then I can, kill him. And then that must be good, right? When you can shoot someone's Force user, you're probably in a good spot when that was not the win condition at all. So I think to get to, a good level of Legion is learning that level of those shortcuts of, hey, these are generally the good things to do. Protect your Force user, shoot an unprotected Force user, yada yada. But to get to that great level is knowing when to break those patterns and to say, hey, to win the game, I need to do X, and whatever it takes, I'm doing X.
And it works out, and sometimes they work out good, and sometimes you win, and sometimes like the dice doesn't go your way, or your opponent sees what you're trying to do and like reads it and pivots. But it's I think seeing those win conditions and being like, and then just going all in and not being conservative, because no one wants to pick their units up off the board at all. But it's like, hey, I may lose this unit, but like I need like. It's the end goal. It's kind of like it's like the Anakin playstyle. It's like, hey, they may die, but we're going to win, So like Anakin in the Clone Wars, not the actual game. So
not the boring Anakin we have in Legion. Yeah. Well, as funny, you mentioned not wanting to pick your units up off of the table. Perhaps that's a good transition then to talk briefly about the other style of Yoda list.
Yes, I want to hear yours.
The Yoda gun line. Because So I guess we can probably bring it up, but I can just quickly read through it for the audio listeners. We've got Yoda with Force Push, Barrier, and Burst of Speed. Clone Commander, 2 RPS clones with Medics and Recon. A Boyle clone in a Phase 1. 2 full arcs, naked with the sniper, and then Strike Team Echo, also in the arc. So coming in at 8 acts, 797. So as I said, you would have beaten me with your bid. It's just a very durable list, which is very nice to have with big dice pools these days. And I think the interesting thing for me was the inclusion of the RPS, because initially I'd been running it with Z6s, no recons, and the RPS was really good for 2 reasons, or more than 2 reasons. I put it in there to help deal with armor, which it helped with. In my 3rd game that I played, I had to go against a double AAT list with 4 repair droids, and was able to kill one of the AATs eventually through 8 repairs.
That's an uphill battle.
Yep. But the other thing is I ended up being a lot more aggressive with my list than I was kind of expecting, right? I was thinking, hey, I've got a lot of range. A good part of this list is that I can be cagey. I can sit back with 3 snipers and aim sharing and just plink, plink, plink. But for different circumstances, I needed to really be aggressive, and having the RPSs with the recons helped a lot with that. Because basically in most deployments, a recon intel is going to be the difference between starting inside range 4 and starting outside range 4 on your opponent. So starting at range 4 means I can fire support. And we were talking a little bit about this before the cast, about how, you had tried double RPS and not really liked it. And I think that makes a lot of sense in a Yoda Chewie list, especially when you just have, Echo for your long range sniping options. But when you've got direct and, the Yoda 3-pip, then you can do 2 fire support shots with arcs where you're adding a rainbow. It's pretty nice. Sharpshooter 1, at best, at worst, red, black, white, lethal 1 with sharpshooter is pretty good in the KG when you're playing KG, because again, nothing's really hitting you that hard back at range 4. Anything that could hit you at range 4, you're dealing with, because you've got barrier, you've got Boyle, you've got dodge sharing on the Yoda 3-pip, and you've got impervious on your arcs. And if somehow the arcs fail a save, you've got clone medics. So it was actually really helpful for me when the Z6s, they wouldn't be doing anything there until they get into range 3. So this helped me be very aggro. And so we kind of talked about that turn 0 decision making. So for me, this really solidified, and I kind of started realizing this in my 2nd game, because I was playing against a Boba triple sniper list. And I'm good at sniping, but against 3 high velocity snipers, if I'm playing KG down 3 acts, because I think it was an 11 act list.
Oh wow.
I'm going to just slowly die. I'm just going to slowly lose my arcs, and then I'm going to not have a lot left, and Yoda's going to have to make a lot of plays. So it was VAPs, right? So I can't, if I trade down, I lose. So it was a very conscious attempt and again, you got to do it from turn 0 a lot of the time to say, okay, I'm going to shove my entire army up as far as I can, and I'm just going to take it to them and get ahead on the attrition really quickly. And the RPS are really good for that, because it's just constant. You're at 8 acts. You don't care if you're losing activations due to fire support, because you're already not going to be able to go last. And the lack of mobility didn't really hurt me, because you don't need to be move shooting like you would with a Z6, because that's what the arcs are for. The RPS are just to sit there, maybe generate some aims, fire support, do the objectives, but they don't need to be move shooting. So cumbersome, whatever, who cares? And if someone does come to range 3, that is a big fire support pool. It's almost, I would say, a better fire support pool as far as consistency, because I don't have a lot of surges to go around.
But like 6 black and a red and white. addition.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's really good because 6 white from a Z6 can spike, but I have so few surges that I want to save those for defense. So I think for me, that was a really good test as far as what does a Yoda gun line really look like, and it's more pedal to the metal than I would have expected. Even with all the defensive tech, it's not. I think I'll get some more games in with it. I'm sure there are circumstances that are more cagey, but even in my game against the AATs, I was finding like, hey, if I sit back, against AATs, they're high velocity again. They'll just burn you down over time. So keeping it pedal to the metal it's using your defensive tech to get ahead on attrition, not to just sit back with all that defensive tech.
Yeah, which I think I see that more and more in like Legion is over the past few seasons, is that like a lot of like the competitive play was sitting back and plink, 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 get an act down. Okay, I've won the game or almost. But now it's like you're seeing a lot of range 2 dice pools. You're seeing big dice pools. And it's like, no, I think like being aggressive and using that defense tech just to like keep your dudes alive with attrition so that when you're still being more offensive, it's very impactful. Did you find yourself ever using like the arc like range 2 band or anything, or just mainly
I could get to range 2 sometimes.
Yeah.
The beauty of Yoda arcs is that arcs are a great guidance target for a few reasons, right? Relentless, you can guidance them, they can get an aim and attack, but on the non-relentless turns, you can pull them back towards your army. If you overextend them, you can pull them back and they'll generate an aim at the same time for the next guy to go forward, which means you can be more aggressive trying to get that range 3 or range 2 band, because when normal units would activate and go, and then it's like, oh man, they're exposed, they're too far up. Yoda just says, hey, no, come on back, guys. And hey, while you're at it, here's an aim, arc number 2, go forward. Now they have a shared aim and their own aim that they can attack. So yeah, range 2 came up quite a bit because it's, again, just full steam ahead. Now, did it actually help? I feel like a lot of the time when I got the range 2 band, it was just all blanks on the whites. But I'm sure there are instances.
It always makes you feel better to roll a lot more dice, though. So
exactly.
It gives you an internal confidence boost.
There's no reason not to in some circumstances. There's very much reason not to.
Yeah.
But there's definitely times when you might as well, because aim shooting or move shooting is the same when you're an arc trooper.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the different versions. So the version Mike was rocking, just if people are interested, had Padme and less medics. And he didn't even have burst of speed, which I can understand. I didn't really use it over the course of my games, but I still like having that safety valve. He was doing more of a guidance, so one of the least used force powers, not least used, but yeah, less used, because he had Padme there. So he's showing up what is usually a weakness on Yoda lists, which is the lack of surges. And now he's got Padme with reliable making one every turn, and then guidancing her. Force guidance,
to be fair.
Surge.
Yeah.
And then guidancing for
her to quick thinking
and just making a super token battery out of that.
Turn 3 is like, Yoda's 3-pip, you're rocking.
It's wild. It's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Four surges at least.
Yeah. So somehow
6
Mike went and
4 aims, 4 dodges.
We converted him to Yoda, but he played the boring version of Yoda where he just he's powered up Padme for half the game instead of doing the fun guidance tricks.
Flashback to the 8-act Padme Yoda saber tank. So one of the questions I want to ask is that Yoda, like, I like to use Yoda a lot, like aggressively, and Yoda's kind of in your face, or it's like if you're not dealing with Yoda, like, and not just like keep him behind line of sight. Did you ever feel like you like dove in Yoda like with his 1 pip or 2 pip, or was it more like keeping him conservative, using the barrier, and just having force push there as a threat, and maybe turn 6 you're moving in there to like do a point or something?
Yeah, it was definitely a lot more of the latter. It's a list where it's all built essentially to make the ARC troopers shine and do the best that they can do. And oh, by the way, if you want some tricks, I've got Yoda. But Yoda's not necessarily the star of the show like he is in a Yoda Chewie list. He's still doing great, fun Yoda things. Guidance is still incredibly useful and pivotal.
Especially with someone with tactical, like very good.
Yeah, and just getting the objectives done, it still makes, he's still great at the objective deck in a way that Anakin can't, or isn't at least. But he's not, if there's an opportunity to dive, great. But often it's, no, I'm happy just kind of sitting back and canceling 2 hits a turn and helping someone out with a guidance. Nothing feels better for me than when someone gets, 7 hits past cover and it's share 2 dodges, block 2 with force barrier, guardian 1, and you're rolling, 2, or that's probably nothing. If I said 7 past cover, that's maybe not realistic. 7 hits total, then yeah, 2 away for cover, 2 dodges, 2 barrier, boil. I've seen people do the another variant you can explore is a P2 for boil, because that gives you protector and a
surge.
Exactly, and an extra surge. It's very expensive.
It's very expensive for a guardian unit. That's like, yeah. So not quite for me. I can see the appeal, but for me, hey, if the high velocity snipers are getting a few crits through and overwhelming the barrier, that's why I have medics, right? They can heal back or impervious just does its thing. That's true. You do have impervious.
When you've got double surging, or when you've got surging red dice, 2, if one Pierce 1 comes through, your chances are 44% that you're just going to save both, assuming you have the necessary surges available. So that's pretty good.
Which what you're rocking 3 surges a turn, not including the 3 pip with the clone commander.
Yeah, exactly. With the clone commander,
Echo and then clone
you go up to 5 if you guidance the clone commander.
Yeah.
Usually you're not.
Would you find yourself guidancing? So you just said you're more guidancing for movement and less for like
almost. Yeah, usually doing it for movement. Maybe once in a while doing it for an objective. I would say as someone who has some reps with Yoda, but a lot of reps with Force User Gunline, this is, a really good entry point. I'd say if you're wanting to get into Yoda. If you want to get into Yoda and you're, more of like a speeder, maybe Blizzard Force player, I'd say probably your list is the way to go. I think both still have a lot of legs these days.
I agree. Now, what would you say to someone who's like, mainly they've done Anakin or like they've done like a Force User Gunline, but they want to like try Yoda out. They've always heard that like, oh, Yoda's like, he's really hard piece, but he's pretty good. How would you encourage someone to like what would you say to that person?
I think the big thing is just seeing what guidance opens up. That, especially here, because Yoda's not diving as much, the big part of his kit that you're going to be utilizing, other than Force Barrier, is the guidance. So just seeing it's such a simple ability, but it's unlocked so much that is usually not available. And I think we've talked about this before on our Force User Deep Dive, one of our very early episodes. We did our keyword on guidance, but it's mind-breaking at times. It's what makes Yoda such a pain to go against, because things happen where you're like, oh, right, that's possible now. Mm-hmm. We talked a bit earlier about you have these heuristics as far as, here's what to expect, here's what usually happens, and Yoda just flips that around, because it's kind of like giving a lot of people, anyone who needs it, Juyo Mastery, where they get 3 actions all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And it's spicy. So I'd say learn the guidance. The rest of it, will come. Especially if you're used to Force users, you're going to be used to holding a guy back and then finding the opportune moment to dive. Yoda's even a bit easier, honestly, because when he dives, you can burst of speed on his 2-pip and blast 2 guys while you're at it, which a lot of Force users aren't doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I always try to, like, whenever I have Yoda activation, or even at the start of the turn, is like, hey, how can I like position myself or like this unit better while utilizing guidance, and not just like, oh, I'm going to double move or like move and dodge with Yoda. It's like, oh, no. Like, how can I utilize guidance to better, like, for me, it's like better equipped or better, like, further the objective along. And like, probably for you, it's like, how can I like either keep my guys alive or like, put them in a better position to attack, like that turn.
Yeah, you're really, you're spending 200 points on Yoda. Like, that's how he's making those points a lot in the early turn.
Yeah,
and it's doing a lot of heavy lifting for being at 8 activations and just being tough as heck. It's doing a lot of. You'll even up the activations fast if you're aggressive.
Yeah,
like a fire support of Echo with an RPS into a mortar is going to one-shot it sometimes. Not super reliably in heavy cover, but it can happen. And then for this list specifically, the version I was running, if someone was looking to play it, I would say as well, just get reps to practice the spacing.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of things just, okay, got to be in range 1 of this guy, got to be in range 1 here. It takes the blob to a whole new level because you really got to blob up because there's so many range 1 effects while you're also trying to be very mobile. So a lot of cohering backwards and everything. So for me, it was definitely, game 1. I was just taking mental notes constantly of, oh, mess that up. Okay, mess that up. I need to keep these guys closer, that sort of thing.
All right. And this is where practice comes into play. Like,
it helps.
Yeah, it does. It does. And don't be like Matt and practice at a tournament.
Hey, this was a tournament practice for a different tournament, so it's acceptable.
That's fair. Yeah. That's fair.
And I just end up going to.
I did do Tell Me the Odds, and this is an Echo Fire support. I'm sorry. This is not an Echo. This is a non-Echo Fire support.
Okay.
With 2 aims, so this is a 3-pip, or if you have another aim, and then 2 surges. You're reliably doing into red saves, average 3 wounds, if not 2. So between 2 to 3, but
in heavy cover.
Heavy cover, in heavy down to light. So you're making your opponent roll 4 dice.
Yep.
Most of the time. Now, if it was just Echo and that, then it's just a lot better odds of it being 3.
And that's assuming you're spending one of those aims for Pierce there.
Yeah. Ooh, no.
Oh.
No, that's like a 3-pip turn. So that's like your turn 1 fire support. If you're just 1 aim, the aim for moving, tactical, you're reliably getting 2. But
if you want to one-shot like a mortar, you kind of need to do it on average. You need to get 4 past cover, which means you go full boat 5 for 5 and then pierce 1. So it's not super likely as a reliable thing, but it happens.
I mean, what this is for Echo. It's what? So out of 10,000 times, 2 wounds is 6,800. 2 wounds is 3,800. 3 wounds is 3,600. So they're still pretty close. It's a 50-50 chance if you're going 3 or 2.
That's like a 1 in 3 times that you're just gonna pop it in this very specific circumstance.
For sure, absolutely.
Yeah. The big thing, you're gonna dish out more damage at range than they are in most circumstances.
I agree.
And if they're going to dish out more damage at range, that's when you make the call and say, okay, time to go for it and just dive. Yeah. That's 2 different approaches with Yoda. And I think, it can be 2 very successful approaches with Yoda. Almost like he's good.
Yeah.
Almost like about how good Yoda is for a long time.
And I think this, like, out of all the characters that, like, I think Yoda, like, can do these two different archetypes very where like other characters like Anakin, he kind of only thrives in one archetype.
I mean, there's been good Anakin Bark lists and Anakin Gunline lists. He just does the same thing.
It's the same thing. I'm just like, I wouldn't put those like S tier. You know, like I think Yoda could do both of these effectively S tier, where not everyone can.
That's fair.
Yeah.
And it's just fun to play. It's one of the funner lists I've been playing in a long time.
Good.
So
I'm glad it's not Dark Troopers. So
hey, Dark Troopers were fun for one person.
Yeah,
you want to talk about not taking models off the board for yourself? Yeah, Dark Troopers were great for that.
Oh man, are they doing good now? Are they still doing good?
No, I don't think they're doing good anymore. But maybe people are too scared.
Or maybe it's because like everyone's bringing armor, or like everyone thinks everyone's bringing armor because of Tempest Force. So it's like, oh, they're bringing armor skew, so that does not help Dark Troopers.
Yeah. Darks have a problem of dying to mass anti-armor, but also not bringing mass anti-armor themselves.
Yeah.
So they have some really rough matches.
Yeah, because if they go against Tempest Force, like they're gone. They're dead.
They just can't.
Because it's like impact 4 almost every turn. Like they're taking impact. Yeah, so.
Yeah, it's not good.
Well, that's our Yoda episode. I had a green light here to represent Yoda.
Oh, for Yoda. So,
yeah.
There you go. Very nice.
Absolutely. So, yeah. Any final thoughts, Matt?
No. Just what we said before. Learn guidance if you want to be an expert at Yoda. I'm still learning.
Guidance and win condition. I think those are the two takeaways.
Yes. Yeah. If whatever you're playing, just always be thinking, what do I actually have to do to win the game?
And then how can I use guidance to accomplish that?
To get there. Yeah. What does that open up?
That is it.
There you go.
Well, thank you so much for listening to the Bomb Bad Generals. We hope that you have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Keep using guidance and keep being... Oh, shoot. It's been so long since we did that. Stay winning and stay Gungan. There we go.
This has been the Bomb Bad Generals.
Listening to Bob Bad Generals is not scientifically proven to make you a better Legion player. Side effects may include bad dice rolls, missed triggers, aim losses, bankruptcy, divorce, vomiting, and sudden death. Ask your doctor if Bomb Bad Generals is right for you.